Hutton, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right.
Better than some fans out there, right?
Better than maybe some Kentucky fans, given the reaction, the negative reaction last night to Mark Pope being their next head coach.
Mark Pope, the next head coach, the head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, returning home, as they're phrasing it. And Kentucky hiring Pope after never aggressively pursuing Billy Donovan again. Bruce Pearl was also never truly sought after. Chad, what do you make of Mark Pope becoming the next head coach at Kentucky, given the fact that they did try and took big swings at other coaches, but were turned down, even when they offered big money?
I don't understand. So Mark Pope might work out fine. Like, I don't think he's a bad coach or anything. But given the waters you were trying to swim in, as Mitch Barnhart was, with Danny Hurley, with Nate Oates, with Scott Drew, the speed in which they went to Mark Pope fascinates me a little bit. Now, maybe Mitch Barnhart truly believed he had no shot at Billy Donovan, and he was going to waste time if he waited 7 to 10 days until his season was over to talk to him. But Hutton, I look at it and I think you could have got Mark Pope in 2 weeks, and you could have checked in with Billy Donovan and seen what was going on. Because all reports were Billy Donovan was willing to listen to Kentucky to get back into college basketball. That seems like a better outcome than hiring Mark Pope. Now, he's a guy who played there. He's got a lot of friends at Kentucky. I think the NIL contributions will be fine. People will be ready to spend some money with him to help him, build this program. But with what Kentucky fans were saying about this search, and to think, Hutton, that they fired a guy that's been to 4 Final Fours with them, I think 6 Elite Eights, won a national title, and is accomplished. He's the winningest coach in college basketball currently, coaching. They didn't fire him, but to let that guy walk out of a lifetime contract, to encourage him to walk, to bring on a 51-year-old coach who's never won an NCAA tournament game, that's a stretch. That's a stretch for pretty much everyone, including Big Blue Nation, that is not happy about this. BBN is fired up.
Well, it's the program where hanging a banner is the expectation every year. Pope knows that. He certainly knows that. And he's won. He's 110-52 during his 5 seasons at BYU with their basketball program. But consider not just winning an NCAA tournament game, which he hasn't done. 9 seasons of head coaching experience, 8 in the mid-majors. 5th place or worse in the conference 5 times. 2nd place 4 times. No regular season titles. No conference tournament titles. And as Chad mentioned, no NCAA tournament wins. That's not the resume of a Kentucky head basketball coach.
No.
It's not.
Certainly was not the resume of John Calipari when he took the job.
No. In trying to spin it as, Roy Williams. Look at Roy Williams. Look at Coach K. Well, in this instance, though, it's a lot like what we saw from the Atlanta Falcons, where the Atlanta Falcons are pursuing Bill Belichick, and they end up with Raheem Morris. Now, Raheem Morris may end up being the perfect hire. And Arthur Blank maybe let that guy walk, and he didn't want to. And he learned his lesson. But, Chad, this is perception and reality to me, where both meet. And the perception is Kentucky right now is just another basketball program. Now, do I truly believe that? No. But I'm being told that it is based on coaches that chose to stay where they were, given various reasons, but turning down the money and turning down the mountaintop that Kentucky can bring you to, where you can rise to just the next level, or at least that's the way it was. And while they're trying to keep it that way, they also didn't sit and wait, like you were mentioning, to go after and pursue other coaches that made sense. Why? Maybe it's the personal issues with Bruce Pearl. Maybe there's some conflict behind the scenes that we certainly wouldn't know about beyond just Cal and Pearl. But, I mean, there's plenty of other coaches that have had more success, even though this is an era of college basketball where these coaches really haven't truly won anything, by and large. And college football as well. It's hard to find those championship-level coaches. Maybe Mark Pope takes them there. But, Chad, forgive me if I'm looking at this and saying, there's a different vibe with Bruce Pearl as the next head coach at Kentucky versus Mark Pope's returning back to where he knows the championship expectations and he's going to lead Kentucky forward. Maybe he does. But right now the vibe is Kentucky's just a peg or two lower than where we thought they were, perception-wise.
Well, Mitch Barnhart also has said as much to Kentucky Sports Radio, did an interview with them, Hutton, today, and he said, quote, "The pool of people who are interested in a job like Kentucky is more like a puddle." That was from him. Now, he's saying that because it's so big and there's so much pressure that there's not as many people who want to take on that challenge as you would think. But, boy, that surprises Kentucky fans. Certainly surprises me as a college basketball fan. A puddle of people interested in Kentucky. Let me go down a list I just made here while you were talking, Hutton, of guys that have a better resume than Mark Pope that I believe would have taken the Kentucky job. Bruce Pearl, Chris Beard, Will Wade, Jerome Tang from Kansas State, who beat Kentucky a year ago in the NCAA tournament, Shaka Smart, Tommy Lloyd from Arizona. You don't call those guys?
Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino is another great one. But you don't call those guys. You go straight from Scott Drew having God tell him he needs to stay in Waco to let's pick up the phone and call our old Mormon buddy, Mark Pope, and get him to come back to Lexington and get him to come to Kentucky. I don't get that part of it. What I've read about Mark Pope, this is always the life cycle of a hire.
Yeah.
Something's disappointing. Fans are outraged. They're ready to burn things to the ground. And then a few hours pass, and you start reading all these different pieces about his offensive system at BYU and how he won at Kansas this year and beat Baylor. And, okay, now I'm more okay with this guy. Did a good job in year one in the Big 12. All of his old teammates love him. He was a captain on the 96 national championship team. Now we've entered the life cycle of, okay, I'm willing to accept this guy if you're a Kentucky fan and root for him and build around him. That's where we are right now. I keep going back to, you let John Calipari walk, and understandably so, given NCAA tournament record recently. But you let that guy walk from a lifetime contract to go to Arkansas, as accomplished as he is as a coach, and you hired a guy who hadn't won an NCAA tournament game. I didn't think this is where we were going to land. I thought it would be a big-time swing and a big-time hire, not just the swing from Kentucky, but they would actually land one of these guys. They did not.
Well, how much of it is the idea that they were going to be turned down and it was going to continue, and they knew it?
Well, I think
because everything about this story is the opposite of how things used to be.
It's a big risk. If you wait 10 days, 2 weeks for Billy Donovan for the pleasure of speaking directly to him, and you take that chance and he says no, then you're probably out of a job.
And all the other coaches,
because you look like a moron.
But all the other coaches have been through the portal now, right? They are telling recruits to come where they are. And I think that's also part of this. You want to go ahead and get this done.
They don't want to throw a season away.
Yeah, and Mark
They
Pope,
want to make sure they can get recruits
Mark
in.
Pope. Mark Pope doesn't want to continue to recruit at BYU, and then two weeks later, after Billy Donovan turns down Kentucky, take the Kentucky job. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's also part of it. And you want to get in there and go ahead and start recruiting in the portal now. You've got to. While you have an opportunity to bring your recruits with you, which you would, but also level up to, now we're in a different pool of transfer portal players.
And Mark Pope was Jeff Shepard's roommate at Kentucky. I know Jeff Shepard has released a statement about the hire.
Many have.
In that statement, though, he's not said that Reed is coming back to play for his old college roommate. But that would be a big boost to Kentucky if Reed Shepard elected to come back and play in year one for in Mark Pope's first year. There's a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do for Mark Pope, a lot of work to do for Kentucky, and there's a lot of damage control, I think, going on right now from Kentucky fans because that reaction last night was not a good one.
It was similar, Chad, to the entertainment of OJ's death on social media.
There were some funny things posted.
Yes.
From a lot of people.
And then you have, Kentucky PR on full throttle.
Including a little assist from a coach at St. John's.
Yeah, and even in former Wildcats. You mentioned Shepard, roommate of Mark Pope's. Well, their coach was Rick Pitino, and he released this video on behalf of Mark Pope taking the job at Kentucky.
What a special day for the University of Kentucky. The leader, the captain of the Untouchables, is coming home to lead the Wildcats. A lot of people out there talk about Jay Wright Danny Hurley, Billy Donovan. They all had their trials and tribulations as well early on. But Mark Pope went into the Big 12 this year, beat Kansas as Kansas beat Baylor at home, and in his first year got to the NCAA. Mark Pope, offensively, no one does it better. The way his teams move, the way his teams shoot the three, the ball movement, the player movement is outstanding. What you don't realize, it took Jay Wright 11 years to finally get an NCAA win. Billy Donovan was at Marshall for 2 years, didn't have an NCAA appearance. He went on to greatness. Mark Pope will go on to greatness. You can put it down. He's not only a Rhodes Scholar candidate, but I remember as if it's yesterday, John Pelfrey getting misty eyes in my first year as a basketball coach at Kentucky. Every time he put on the uniform, he was near tears. And I said to him, John, what is with you every time you put that uniform on? He said, Coach, you just don't understand what this means to all of us from Kentucky. Well, I can guarantee you one thing. Nobody epitomizes the name Kentucky on the front of the jersey more than Mark Pope. What some of you don't realize is how good a basketball mind he has, how much of a relentless recruiter he will be. Now, recruiting's different today. We're now coaching all pros. The NIL has taken away amateur basketball and has made them professional athletes. I'm sure Kentucky's going to have a strong NIL. You have one of the premier young coaches in the game. Relish it, because he will do you proud. I know I sit here today at St. John's and I couldn't be any more prouder than to see Mark Pope lead the Kentucky Wildcats to another championship. He'll get it done. He's got the right stock, he's got a beautiful family, and he absolutely loves Kentucky across his chest. Get it done, Mark. I love you. You're going to do a fabulous job.
I love the message on behalf of Pitino there.
He should be the coach. I hear that and I think, man, wouldn't that be great if he was at a press conference for Kentucky?
Yeah, and what the fit and the brand of Kentucky, right? By the way, the desk, he's got the old school, like, brick remote for DirecTV.
Yeah.
He has, does he use a drawer? Because he had his entire drawer pulled out.
It wasn't the most high-end setup I've seen for a video shot like that.
He is overlooking the practice facility there.
I got to like it because it shows me that he wasn't really that prepared. He just kind of talked from the hip and said all those things.
I agree.
Very well done.
Now, if fit matters, we've been discussing this. Chad, if it's about fit and you kind of knew you could be on the outs with Calipari because everyone's miserable behind the scenes, right? Mark Pope is almost immediately your hire. And this has been soon. They had to make everything official with Calipari in Arkansas. But you don't have the other lanes that you're going down. If Mark Pope is just the end-all, be-all, you've done all your necessary background work prior to all this, which is going on, and you don't have the egg in the face of your Kentucky Wildcats being turned down by the top college basketball coaches that you're pursuing, because quite frankly, if this were 10, 15, 20 years ago, no one's turning the job down. Not one, regardless of the circumstance. Unless you're Coach K, Roy Williams, right? Like, no one's turning that gig down. You just make it immediate, and you make this impression based on the fact that there was no one else but him to lead you to the next level. Win a tournament game would be the next level.
I believe there are a lot of coaches who could succeed at Kentucky, and I listed some I would have gone to before Mark Pope. That's not saying that Mark Pope won't succeed at Kentucky. He might. A lot of people could. Rick Pitino also said in an interview today that if Mark Pope needs help with NIL money, I will write him a big check. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? Like, I get that he played.
Why would he need to?
You're the head coach at St. John's. If I'm the St. John's athletic department, I'm thinking, can you write the check to us? I know that's against the rules, but we need the money. Not Kentucky's fine. Coach, I don't think Kentucky needs your help or needs money.
You want to talk about something that's never happened.
We get that you like the guy. The video was very nice, but let's chill on the interviews where I'll cut him a blank check right now. Whatever Mark Pope wants, Pope will get. Kentucky will get the best players money can buy. I love how you said we're all coaching pros now, which it's pretty true. Yeah, especially at that level.
Yeah, at the Kentucky level. But at that level,
one year to the next.
So why would Rick Pitino why did he reference NIL so much? He should know what Kentucky's doing on that level, right? I'm thinking, why would Rick Pitino need to cut a check to Mark Pope for NIL necessities? He's the head coach of Kentucky.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm following Matt Jones and Kentucky Sports Radio last night and watching some of their X Spaces show.
Yes.
Incredibly entertaining with some of the stuff going on there. But now we're in that life cycle where everyone's changing their tune, and now he's reporting some booster just wrote a $4 million check to Kentucky's NIL because it's Mark Pope. Because Mark Pope has come home to Lexington, now everyone wants to pitch in.
I'm guessing that guy would also write the $4 million check to any other coach
to Scott
because
Drew
he didn't
or to Nate Oates or anyone.
He did not want Calipari to be the coach, so he wasn't going to write the check.
Yeah.
You know, they were ready for him to move on because he hadn't won a tournament game in a while. So he would have done that for Nate Oates, like you're saying. He would have done that, period. But it is Mark Pope's gig. Wish him well. But perception's reality here, and Kentucky, to me, has just fallen down a peg or two from one of the premier jobs, and it still can be, to, well, it just feels like another gig because it feels a bit like it is very similar to what Alabama went through.
Yeah.
It is very similar, where coaches now, especially in this era of college sports, feel like they can build their own Kentucky brand, their own Alabama football brand, where they are, as long as they're at a certain level already, and they have the necessary funds to compete. If they do, and they're in a certain conference, they feel like I can do it here. Well, I don't have to go to Tuscaloosa or Lexington.
Mitch Barnhart's probably right in that puddle and not a pool of candidates that want the job. There are a lot of people who just don't want the headache of being the Kentucky coach.
Sure,
John Calipari was fine with it. I think Bruce Pearl will be fine with it. Maybe Mark Pope will be fine with it. But a lot of people don't want that headache depending on where they have a job currently.
And what's the patience level now with Pope? Because there was no patience for Calipari, who turned that program around from where it was 16 years ago.
It's going to be a lot more patience than Billy Gillispie got. Now, Billy Gillispie had his own issues, and he was a train wreck pretty much from the start. But he got 2 years. I don't think Mark Pope is going to be as bad as Billy Gillispie, but because he is a Kentucky guy, I think he'll get a little bit more patience. Now, fans are going to bitch and complain about everything from the beginning because this isn't the guy they wanted.
That's what makes that program special.
Right, and that's the expectation you take on when you take that job. Speaking of what coaches do when they get offered, like Danny Hurley did.
Big money, too.
I like how honest Danny Hurley was when asked a question about it.
Yeah, and he was on with Dan Dockett's Don't At Me earlier this morning. Here is Dan Hurley answering the question about what UK's offer was to him.
How much Kentucky offer you?
It never became a thing ever, like whatsoever. My conversations, obviously your agent tells you, because when you have the success we've had the last 2 years, you obviously, here at UConn, obviously you want your staff to be rewarded. You want the university to double down on the investment so that we could stay at the top of the mountain. So, your agent tells you with the media, basically try not to say no without saying no, be evasive as possible so that you don't, hurt his ability to get the things that he needs at UConn, to just be totally honest. But, I think I told him very early on that I have no interest. My wife, my family, we have no interest. Why would you leave the current best program in the country? Why would you leave the best program to go somewhere else?
There was Dan Dawkins with Dan Hurley earlier today.
So Dan Hurley, very, very honest about, the agent teaches you not to give a definitive answer right away because they want to get what they can and what you can for your staff and what you can get at the current job. So it's best not just to say no right away. I'm being completely honest with you right now, but I love that honesty from Danny Hurley. And it's one more lesson in how agents run the sport in a lot of ways. And it's not even getting played anymore. It's just the game. right? I don't think Kentucky and Mitch Barnhart got played. They legitimately wanted to hire Danny Hurley.
And they tried.
They played the game, and Danny Hurley and his agent played him like a fiddle and said, yeah, we'll get raises for our staff and more investment and this, and this. And that's what everyone does now. Scott Drew is going to get the same.
Yeah. And in fact, met with them.
Yeah.
You know, like did everything and said it was a very extremely difficult decision. But God called him to stay at Baylor. But also, we mentioned the 17,000 square foot home that John McClain told us about. His wife not wanting to go to Lexington. All that plays a huge factor. Huge factor.
Well, and going back to Alabama, the same thing that happened for Dan Lanning and
Sure.
Steve Sarkisian.
Yes.
Was they got what they wanted.
So they're taking big swings, and then the drop-off, right? What's the money like for Mark Pope compared to the money being thrown around? That's the other perception here. And the ability to level up, right? Because he's not going to leave. You have a coach now, if he has success, he's not leaving. Not leaving Kentucky. But not even going after Bruce Pearl?
Yeah, I think
that's the intriguing part here.
I think when you land on Mark Pope, now I think this is where it's actually seen as a benefit to not have an enormous salary, because at least your fans can say, oh, they're making this guy go out and earn it and prove it before they pay him top SEC coach dollar.
Yep.
And we can allocate those resources to, I don't know, what was John Calipari bitching about not having? A basketball facility that he wanted, right? Just things like that they may want at Kentucky that Mark Pope might want. I think fans are actually okay with that.
How much is this about football as well?
It's a flex also when you can go and offer a ton to someone, and then if you get them, oh, man, look how much we're paying for this guy. That feels good as a fan base.
Yes.
But when you get down to your third and fourth choice, I think going, not bargain basement, but going lower salary isn't a bad thing.
Chad, just perception here. The whole spat between Calipari and Stoops at Kentucky last year. Football school, basketball school, whatever. That has to play a factor here. We heard Pitino mention NIL and cutting a check if it's needed. A lot more money is being funneled to the football program than the last time they had to make a hire, which was John Calipari.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, it was all in on basketball. Everyone else can compete because basketball is great. And now it's just different. You know, they got the football facility that they've invested in, which is what Calipari was bitching. And it's, again, Stoops is doing his thing, and you don't hear him clamoring. And the fans, they love Stoops because he's winning like 6 or 7 games a year, Chad. He's getting raises, contract extensions.
Yeah, look, I don't think anything's changed in Kentucky about being a football or basketball school. I think the problem was Mitch Barnhart and John Calipari didn't like each other. And that came out when John Calipari called reporters to his villa in the Bahamas for that tournament and said, I want to talk about some things.
But
they were clearly heading to that confrontation.
Yes.
So then when he talked about it, well, that's going to piss off your boss even more. And Mitch Barnhart gets angry, and then he's calling a press conference the next day to basically, I'm going to put this back together because now you've made my football coach angry. Now everyone hates Calipari, and Barnhart didn't like him before that. It seems to me like a relationship that's been pretty rocky for a while now.
Rocky, but
and the losing to Oakland only made it that much worse.
Yeah, if he's winning, there's no big deal there because Calipari was always there were the coaches among the athletic program and then Coach Cal. And recently it's been Calipari's been a part of and treated like every other coach on campus.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Well, and it's tough to really flex if you're Mitch Barnhart or throw your weight around when you're getting top 1 or 2 recruiting classes,
right,
and you're winning tournament games. But even throughout this year, I mean, hell, I had Kentucky in the Final Four. I think you might have also going in.
I did.
Most people like Kentucky getting hot in the tournament.
You buy in.
So even then, Mitch Barnhart has just got to sit on his hands and be real quiet
and wait for him to lose.
And say, hey, he's got the second best recruiting class in America, maybe the best, coming in next year, so we better be quiet
and
keep him happy.
$4 million booster.
You lose to Oakland, and immediately it's look what you've done to me.
And you have $4 million booster for NIL saying we want him out, and then all the money starts to flow in.
Yeah, you really can't afford to get him out because of how much it costs for that lifetime contract. Oh, here comes Arkansas. This is a best case scenario. Let him walk. It's the conclusion of it that surprises me. You let Calipari walk with his resume. I'm thinking at the lowest end, Chris Beard.
Yes.
You know who got Texas Tech to a national championship game? Will Wade would be a good. Bruce Pearl was one I said that
Chad,
you'd go to
lowest
immediately.
end is Rick Pitino.
Yeah,
Seriously.
but
If you're just turning back
highest
to the
end of
Kentucky
entertainment. Highest end of entertainment, if that happens.
Amateur.
Yes. Well, they're all pros. We're all coaching pros now.
Yes.
Mock Pope. Mock Pope.
Chad, Blue Bloods, Kentucky's one of them. UConn is too.
Oh, yeah.
You can get the full interview, Dan Hurley on Dan Dockich, Don't At Me, available at outkick.com/shows. Speaking of UConn, Donovan Clingan, back-to-back champ.
Yep.
Just like Hurley in that program. And was asked the question recently on a podcast about just last year's visit. They're about to make another one. Last year's visit to the White House and the sad interaction with President Biden.
Last year, after we won a national championship, went to the White House, took a picture with Joe Biden, team picture. Joe Biden talked to us for about 3 minutes. Okay. And then right after that, he asked us for a picture again.
What did he say in that 3 minutes? Yeah.
Completely ignored Coach Hurley. Really couldn't understand what he was saying. And then he said, all right, let's grab a picture.
Do you think he knows basketball?
Not much.
Doesn't know much of anything right now based on the brainwaves there.
I just love the how nonchalant Donovan Clingan is about calling out the commander-in-chief. We took a picture, and then 3 minutes later, he asked to take the picture again. It's like, man.
Yeah.
President Biden getting some shade today from the national champs.
Yeah, I mean, just being honest about it.
Yeah.
You know? And the thing is, man, it is unbelievable to me where we are on the presidential candidates yet again. With this.
Is there
my
no
grandfather,
one under
my grandfather,
80?
Chad, my grandfather was not allowed, like his license was about to be taken away just before he passed.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed to fly his airplane because of a heart condition. You know, but he would also at that time be presidential age.
My
It's
dad
nuts to me.
My dad turns 80 in June. All right, so right around this age. And
Hell to the chief.
we should get Tom Withrow on the show to ask his thoughts about how Tom Withrow would perform as president of the United States. Right now at 80,
Better.
he'd probably have some quick jokes back.
Cornhole on the back lawn.
I mean, if it's about a quick joke that would likely get him in trouble with the media by saying that joke, then my dad could be president. But I'm here to tell you, at 80 years old, no one should be president of the United States of America.
Still would be a hell
Is
of a
the retirement age
presidential
still
resident.
65?
I mean,
Is that like what people think of the retirement age?
60? It's 62.
I feel like it's getting older now because Social Security's kind of going away.
My parents my dad received buyouts to retire early. You know, so like I don't even know what age he would have been had he just retired.
I mean, this is 15 years post what a lot of people think about retirement. I know it's backing up for a lot of people closer to 70, but that's still a decade after that. That's
Are you allowed to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company if you're 80?
I mean, they can do whatever they want, but they're not.
But they're not.
They're not hiring 80-year-old CEOs.
It's just nuts, man. Nuts. And it's a sad reality. Yeah, but of course he didn't remember taking a photo. That was a year ago.
Yeah.
And Trump's going to be the same age after the second term for him.
Oh, no. He was saying that he forgot he took the photo from 3 minutes before.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes later, asked to take the photo
But
again.
I'm just thinking it's the age of you know, how we perceive Alzheimer's, dementia, and all that. My grandmother went through this before she passed. It was sad, man. It's a slow decline, and then all of a sudden, just off the cliff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, again, you can't have a driver's license, but you can run the country.
And here we are.
Yes.
Here we are.
Here we are. That was awkward, right? The awkward exchange there will no doubt happen again for UConn with the president. I would say also awkward would be taking a job at Arkansas and learning how to call the Hogs, because I don't know if there's another. What would be similar to this for you? Is it Midnight Yell?
Anything at A&M.
Midnight Yell.
Anything at A&M would be equally weird.
Yes, but it's also.
If I was a big-time coach, I'd have a hard time accepting a position at A&M.
But unlike
if I had other options, simply because of the weird pageantry.
But unlike here with Coach Cal, Jimbo Fisher didn't have to put on overalls and go to Midnight Yell and clap and play Frogger.
Do a push-up contest with some other dudes.
Yeah, yes, and then
dude push-up contest.
Jump over them.
Yeah,
in a very sexual manner.
Hop over.
Yeah.
Frogger. Play Frogger with some shirtless guys.
Yeah, hopscotch.
Yeah.
It's The sexual innuendos there are
Yep, there's a lot.
insane. But at least the coach doesn't have to learn how to do them.
Yeah.
Here's Coach Calipari behind the scenes through Arkansas's media relations team and social media team, learning how to call the Hogs.
This is a special time to be a Razorback.
I'm excited for us to formally introduce Coach Cal to this state and the entire Razorback Nation.
Are we doing the big suey? All right, so let's do it one time. Show me it again. Go ahead.
Ellen, you have practice?
Finger wheel is very important.
Pig suey.
Go ahead, let me see it. It stays up.
Pig suey.
All right, I got it.
No, no.
Oh, we're not done yet, Coach. Get your ass back over.
Yeah. Not even near done. You get those spirit fingers back up.
Suey.
Razorbacks.
You gotta say Razorback.
I can do it.
I've never seen
He can do
anyone
it, then he didn't do it.
more disappointed to be doing that. than
Now I got to go
John
talk to
Calipari.
these coaches.
You know how you're embarrassed and you're just trying to get, the camera's on you and you're doing something embarrassing?
Yes.
So you're trying to like point, hey, let's see you do it. He was doing that. All right, let's see it over here. Now you're up next.
You.
You do spirit fingers and show me how to do pig suey. That is
He wants to
incredible.
see it again just to see, like, okay, am I going to pull this off? Am I actually going to do this?
I love how they do half of it and he goes, all right, I got it. I think I got it. I got it from here, guys.
Have we
I get the gist of what's happening.
Have we seen? And by the way, that's a salesman in his.
He's in his element.
Oh yes, I mean it's a salesman at work right
Yeah,
there.
he's going to be doing that at a Pine Bluff smorgasbord.
And he'll make
on
it,
the recruiting
He'll
trail
come
soon
across
enough.
okay with it. But have we even seen him in this era of recruit? You pull out the card and then some coach will like put sunglasses on and do a dance with something that would be very awkward. And for that kids or the parents in with them, like the Florida recruit where the dad put the jersey on too.
Yeah, well,
But have we
Nick
seen-
Saban dancing?
But have we
doing the
seen
shuffle.
Cal do that? Have we seen him do that with a
slide.
recruit? I don't recall seeing anything weird from him. Like I think he's just kind of he knows what he's capable of and what he's not, and props to him for that.
Yeah, I don't remember a
recall it,
viral moment with him and Anthony Davis.
I
or
think in
anything.
that moment right there, he's thinking about, okay, is this going to be viral?
What he's thinking about is let me get the hell out of here
Yes.
so I can go do my thing and talk to these people.
And then let me go talk to these coaches
Yeah.
and get off the stage.
Let me go talk to these Hill people and get out of here. He's like Shooter McGavin
Yeah.
and Happy Gilmore. Why don't you go back to your shanties now, all of you?
Let me go talk to Walmart, please.
Right.
Yeah,
Which Walmart executive's
Yeah.
mansion will I be buying? That's what I want to know next.
Tyson Foods is calling. I'm not
After I
calling
show
the
off
Hogs.
my spirit fingers,
Tyson Foods is calling me.
yes, the vice president of Tyson will be selling me his home when I leave here.
Tom Brady, he's not wanting to sell. He wants to buy in to the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not going to happen yet until we see some rules changes across the NFL. In fact, they've made it more difficult for him just to buy in immediately to the Raiders. He has not been approved as a minority owner, a low percentage owner of that franchise. He wants to be. But on Deep Cuts with Vic Blends and that podcast, here's Tom Brady not ruling out a return as a quarterback.
One day there's a situation, right? Maybe it's the 49ers, maybe, heading to the playoffs. Offense is great.
Patriots,
Somebody,
Raiders,
look,
could be, you never know.
God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone?
I'm not opposed to it. If they would, I don't know if they're going to let me if I become an owner in an NFL team, but I don't know if, I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape, always be able to throw the ball. So to come in for a little bit, like MJ coming back, I don't know if they let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Oh, they'll let you. They'll let you come back and play quarterback. I don't know if they'll let you do
I
it
love
as
how
an
it's
owner
they.
of the Raiders.
Yeah.
Right?
He's also got a contract with Fox to call games.
Yes, he does.
He's supposed to be starting.
But at least that contract says he starts whatever he wants to. He said he's going to start this season.
We had Greg Olson on at the Super Bowl talking about all this.
Yeah.
I still am in believe it when I see it mode with Brady calling games. I think he wants to do something else. I think he wants to own a team or he wants to play, as he said here. I just don't think he's fully committed yet to calling games.
He wants that. There's no
He's
doubt.
keeping his options open.
He wants to stay busy. He wants the grind. I think that's what he misses. The grind of what is the NFL offseason and NFL season. And he'll get a call. When he got a call from the 49ers recently. They tried to get him instead of running it back with Brock Purdy in San Francisco. And I like how he plays into the whole narrative of Patriots, Raiders, because he's just picking up on it when the guy says, what about the Niners?
Yeah.
Patriots,
You're from there, right?
Raiders.
Yeah, let's do that.
Other teams.
Anyone in
That's
need
right.
of a quarterback.